action now coming up for Bisu. I assume for once again for observatory purposes, get Observer out to prevent himself, to make sure that he doesn't fall prey to mines. Actually, a probe managed to sneak itself through right behind Iris's natural expansion he's going to be putting down. We're going to see what that actually manages to be a factor. He's going to go try to plant it. Oh, does manage to plant the pylon, but the pylon instantly going to get cancelled. Yeah, Iris had forces coming in, so Bisu not being too successful in that. And turrets, missile turrets already coming up, so Iris being very careful in that regard, also putting up missile turrets. He knows that drop deck could be imminent. There was a robotics facility coming up for Bisu, so Iris is a little bit ahead in that regard, trying to stay in the game, trying to keep his head in the game, putting down his natural expansion at this point. And Observatory coming up, and still will do, so Bisu is actually not going to go for drops. Going to go for observers first to help him clear the mines, then he's going to be able to move his forces freely around the map. And just all going to come down to that. Iris has still believe economically behind. The damage done early on still felt, still has only one factory producing troops at this point. His natural expansion is definitely going to help in that regard. He's going to be able to add a couple of factories soon and possibly even tech up using his E-base and a supply deal with block of his natural expansion. There are several Dragoons moving around the field. And we're going to see whether Bisu actually is going to try to expand yet again, going for Templar Archives and a Stargate. His second, wow, he's been doing this a lot, going for 2-gate Arbiters, and it has worked for him fairly well. It helped him beat Fantasy. He did very well in the last game, just not being overall too effective, and just didn't help him in the late game. Just some bad decision making in the late game. He still could have definitely won with that strategy in the last game. He's going to go for 2-base Stargate yet again, which means he is going to be taking down the third base fairly soon. He's just going to get those Arbiters into the field and then going to get down a third to help support. Let's see, Armory? No, it was Academy. That wasn't Academy, so Scan and Factory also. No Scans, no Armory. There we go, Armory inside the natural expansion. So Iris at this point on 2 bases, on 2 gases, feeling that he can finally tech up to what an Observer going to run inside, going to run right into a turret, and almost gets taken out, but not quite. Not gonna be able to, possibly not gonna be able to get all the scouting information it would have wanted. SCV running up behind the base, trying to spot, quite possibly spotting the pylon. Now let's see at the upper right hand. So next is gonna take down his third just after he puts down the Arbiter Tribunal, so that he can get ways, not producing much else that will do on the field. So he's gonna be getting that Zealot speed and possibly even Templar on the field. Last time I felt he didn't have enough High Templar in his grouping until very late in the game, at which point they pretty much became a non-factor, really didn't help him out. As I said, during the last game, there was one big battle where Bisu could have really used High Templar, because if he would have had even a couple of them, they would have really helped hold Iris back, because Iris had a lot of clump tanks, and that's really a weakness of Terrans. So you want to clump tanks together so they can all fire at the same time, get in range together, but that way they're also really big victims just to a few storms, and they all get taken out. But if you keep them separated, they're not going to be able to get the same huge amount of fire. And Scan did go off their fires. I'm not quite sure if he spotted the Stargate yet, though, in the range. I think he should have. I think the Scan should be able to get all the gateways as well as the Stargate. Iris doing kind of like he did in the last game, just getting a decently large separated tank line on the field, also mining up, just holding defensively at this point, getting a starport. So we're going to see whether he goes for drop tech yet again, or actually goes for Science Facility right away. He's definitely going to need a third base if he's thinking of it, which he is working on as we speak. Command Center going to be floated up fairly soon. Cannons being put down by Bisu. He definitely wants to be careful this time of any aggressive vulture harassments, which Iris is actually very good at. Iris actually has a vulture running around the map trying to spot bases, most likely planting mines to prevent Bisu from putting down any other bases, locations he doesn't want him putting bases at. Now we're going to see the first-person view of Bisu here as he runs around with some Dragoons, cleared out some vultures at the 12 o'clock position, and starts clearing up some mineral patches to allow his probes and forces to run around between the 1 o'clock and his natural expansion and main. Vultures on the field as we look at the first person view of Iris. Iris actually going to put down a third base himself right at the lower left-hand position. Vultures on the field just trying to do some sort of damage, planting mines, trying to get a scout. Going to actually spot that Bisu has walled off his upper right-hand position, scanning other positions as well, just trying to spot whether Bisu is trying to go for another base. And Bisu, I believe, is actually trying to take that 12 o'clock. He did this last time, just trying to expand very aggressively after he gets that very early Stargate, because it is going to be very... If you don't expand right after taking up as aggressively as Bisu did, as quickly as Bisu did, you're really going to fall behind in troop production. Science Facility already up, so Never mind the dropship. Iris is going to go for science vessels right away. He's going to need those against those arbiters as they're going to be coming up. EMPs, very, very necessary. First Arbiter already out in the field for Bisu, though. Forge also spitting, so he's been getting upgrades. Arbiter still at this point still has one, and we're going to see whether Bisu's going to be going for a recall. Second army now coming up for Iris. First one already spinning, and he's putting up turrets everywhere now. He should be mining up as well. It really helped him last time, and his lower left hand still very vulnerable. If Bisu decides to recall that lower left hand, it's going to be in a horrible position. Observer actually goes down now, and Arbiter trying to run and trying to spot the positioning, but getting caught by turret fire right away. Really doesn't want to lose Arbiter as he tries to go for a recall. And Arbiter has to be very, very wary of that. Actually using a bunch of SCVs to block the north walk-in, the north way into his, okay, let's call it the path, the north pathway into his natural expansion, so that Bisu can only come into his natural expansion from one way. Does have weapons 1 upgrades at this point. Armor should follow, and weapons 2 should come in fairly soon as well. It is actually 1 shuttle on the field, so Zealot bombs are going to be ready for Bisu as he needs them to drop those down right into those clumps. I also felt he had a lack of those. He tried to go for some Zealot bombs last game, but they were completely ineffective. Does have weapons 1 on the field, so in that regard, these players are completely equal. Bunch of speeded Zealots on the field. Arbiter taking a few more free shots from turrets. Got to be careful in that regard. But for science vessel on the field, just an observer actually going to be able to be taken out by that one single turn. That's it. Runs for your life. And a bunch of Dragoons running in right towards Iris's base. Some Vultures going to go out, trying to block for those. Observer going to go down. Let's see whether Arbiter is running in. There's going to be a stasis coming up, hitting the Vultures, hitting one single tank. Still trying to be. Iris definitely going to try to defend this position. Bunch of Zealots running in, Dragoons in to support as well. All the Zealots running in right into the tank lines. A huge number of Zealots. All these tanks are going to be extremely over. All these tanks are going to be cleared up. Bisu now with a perfect push at the perfect time. Goliath's running in to help support, but not enough tanks, not enough of anything. Mines all getting cleaned up. Now Dragoons are all going to be able to run right inside of this base. Defensive matrix on a Goliath. They're not going to help out at all. Horrible position at this point. SCV is going to be forced off to fight. Zealots and Dragoons all completely penetrating natural expansion. And Darius not going to have reinforcements quick enough. A bunch of more speed Zealots running in right away. Dragoons actually running in towards the lower left. And GG coming in from Iris as he spots the huge trouble that he is in. And Bisu evens the game up. Iris with a smile there, actually, a little bit. So it is going to be even Steven, my people. Ranchino Files, I love you guys. So wiping his brow. Early damage definitely showing at the end. He did manage to get enough tanks out in the field quick enough. Didn't manage to put up all of his defensive quick enough. Given a couple of more minutes, I think he might have been able to push that push off a little bit more quickly. Bisu, I think early on, thinking of going for recall, but then spotting, you know what? Never mind, I'll just storm the front and kill him. And as soon as his defensive position was heavily compromised, Iris was forced to GG. As well as soon as he saw this lower left-hand base was screwed. So Bisu keeping it interesting. Looking forward to see what they're going to bring on the next one. One more game to go. Both these guys one step away from either winning or losing. And Iris rubbing his eyes, getting himself ready for the next one. So on that note, GG guys, ranching out. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.